All right, hello, welcome back to Unqualified Analysis. I'm your host, Caleb. You can follow me on the socials at CalebVUA. We do this thing every week, generally on Tuesdays. I think this will come out on Tuesday. This one shouldn't be a super long one. It's a pretty big off-season episode. But yeah, you can follow me on the socials at CalebVUA, like, subscribe, all that good stuff, yada, yada, yada. You already get it at this point. Shoot me a DM if you want to get in contact. That's the best way to do it at this point. That being said, we have got ourselves an episode today. Sorry I did not put one out sooner. It is just because I'm an adult with a job where I work a whole lot. So sometimes, as I've stated on Twitter a couple times now, the real job gets in the way of the side hustle, and that's okay. That's okay. As long as I, stay consistent. Otherwise, it's not that big of a deal. But I do apologize for that. I do apologize. But we're here now. That's what matters. Anyways, today we have got it's a lot of off-season headlines. Bills signed another big extension. Stephon Diggs found a home. I didn't write down a bunch of these headlines because I have been busy as hell. Big time stuff going on at work right now. I'll tell you what, it was a hell of a day today. Nothing major or life-changing, just we got some shit done today. I'll tell you what, and it feels good to get some shit done. Enough about work, though. We'll keep moving from here. And I'll talk about some the league meetings, Jerry Jones a little bit. Can I interest you in some Jerry Jones, perchance? Stick around later for that. Hopefully I remember because I did not write down that headline. But yeah, we'll get to all that and more. Let's just get a quick swig of this Coca-Cola here. Is what it is. They'll never sponsor me, and then we'll get right into this thing. Also, since the last time that we talked, and you heard it coming on during last week's episode, I completely lost my voice, and then throughout the course of the last week, I regained my voice, and now we're back at full strength. You never even know what I just went through over the past week, but in a job where I'm talking on the phone a lot, losing my voice was less than ideal. But that's all in the past now. We're talking about the present, but also stuff that happened in the past. It is what it is. We'll just start from the top here. We'll go a little bit chronologically. So pretty much on last Tuesday, the day that I actually put out the last episode, Russ signed a 1-year deal. Russell Wilson, that is, signed a 1-year deal with $10 million guaranteed with the Giants. So we got about 4 good days of celebrating Jameis Winston being the starting quarterback in the NFL, just from an entertainment perspective. Instead, Russell Wilson is going to be the starter. I mean, they paid him, I think Jameis Winston was only like $8 million over 2 years. Russell's getting, it could be up to $25 million. That up to's doing a whole lot of work, considering I don't know if this is a Giants offense where he's going to be hitting a whole lot of incentives, unless he feeds the ball to Malik Neighbors, but we'll talk about that in just a second. But it's $10 million guaranteed even. The guaranteed in 1 year is more than Jameis Winston's entire contract over 2. So he's going to be the starter. That's just kind of what it is. Either way, though, whether it's Jameis Winston starting at quarterback or whether it's Russell Wilson, we know what the game plan is going to be coming into this thing already, right? So what do both of those guys have in common? I'll tell you, not much in terms of a lot of different factors. They not really a whole lot in common. But the one thing they do share in common is that they love to throw the deep ball. Jameis Winston is just a madman. Russell Wilson, it's been the hallmark for his entire career. It's basically the only thing in his game that I would say still pretty consistently works. The problem is he just only had, Tyler Austin and George Pickens to throw to. Whenever George Pickens decided to show up on that given Sunday, that was a pretty big hit and miss proposition there. Now he's got Malik Neighbors to throw to, and that's the crucial thing. I see both of these quarterback signings with the goal in mind to just maybe make Malik Neighbors break the all-time record for a single season in receiving yards. And if he stays healthy, this entire offense is going to run through the guy. So he's going to have every opportunity to do so, assuming that Russell Wilson can still, in fact, throw the deep ball, which he did a fine enough job of that last year. I mean, we had some bumps in the road there with the Broncos where he was, frankly, terrible. But this past season, You just give him a couple good deep ball receivers, and lo and behold, you see what happens there. So give him Malik Neighbors, maybe the best deep threat in the entire NFL. We'll see on that. I mean, Tyreek Hill probably has something to say about that, but I digress on that front. Malik Neighbors, I mean, one of the best rookie seasons, I think the best rookie season for a wide receiver that we've ever seen. So I don't know, man. I'm gonna wait and see on this. I know the Giants are still going to be terrible. That being said, it's all water under the bridge if you can at least make a fun team, I suppose. And I think that's the best way for Daboll and Shane to survive this next season. Just don't think it happens regardless. They're a terrible roster still. Let's not get it wrong. They picked up some good players, but they're not a very good roster at this point, and I'm very open to being proven wrong. I know Brian Daboll is at times a good head coach. We can't forget that, 11-6 season in year one. We can't forget that just, offhand there. But at the same time, a lot of cards stacked against him. A lot of cards stacked against him at this point. But I think we've just about wrung all the juice that we can out of that story. So we'll just keep moving. We'll just keep moving from there. Stephon Diggs has a home. I forgot that he was a free agent, frankly. He did tear his ACL last season, as you will remember, but was very productive before tearing that ACL. Was really the number one receiver down there in Houston. Well, Nico Collins was the number one receiver. Let's not get it twisted here. But with Nico Collins out for significant portions of the year, Stephon Diggs was a huge factor in that Texans offense, and he was missed dearly whenever he got injured. Tank Dell injury did not help either, but losing Stephon Diggs, you saw a noticeable difference once that happened, and maybe Bobby Slowick's still around if he stays healthy. I tend to doubt that. I think he was probably gone either way, but maybe things turn out differently. That's the type of player that Stephon Diggs is. With that preamble, though, he signed with the Patriots on a quote-unquote 3-year deal worth $69 million. And I put air quotes on that because I think $26 million is guaranteed. Ultimately, even more headlines came out that made it seem like only about $15 million of that is guaranteed. So this is essentially a 1-year deal for pretty nice compensation, but it's not. This is fugazi cap manipulation right here. That's all that is. But the Patriots get a number one wide receiver that they can rely on. They have, who is it? It's not Jalen McMillan there. Maybe it is Jalen McMillan. I think it actually might be Jalen McMillan that they drafted last year. One of those two Washington receivers that was not named Rome Odunze that also got drafted in the NFL last year. It was one of those two that they drafted. I think it was McMillan. But you got him coming back. I feel like there's someone I'm forgetting. I mean, obviously Hunter Henry, the tight end, is there. Offensive line is still frightening if you are a Patriots fan, and the Patriots are really not a playoff roster, but Mike Vrabel is the head coach now, folks, and if there's anything I know about Mike Vrabel is that he's going to get the most out of every roster that he has in front of him. I think of the Bill Belichick disciples, I think it's pretty clear that Mike Vrabel is the best of the bunch there. I don't think there's been a great hit rate outside of, I think Brian Flores got screwed, but there were some serious flaws in the way that he coached the offense, specifically the way he was with the quarterback. I don't know if you can say he was wrong about that, but that's a different story for a different day. But outside of those two, really not been a whole lot of success elsewise for Bill Belichick disciples. But that guy, Mike Vrabel, I know he's the right person for that job. I know the town is going to love him, and I think they're not going to be that bad. I think the defense especially is going to be much improved from last year. It really can't be a whole lot worse from what it was, but a lot of really solid young players there. They offloaded some of the aging players. So the defensive roster is going to be a bit of a work in progress, but they did bring in, some good players. I think they brought in Milton Williams, if I'm not mistaken. So really solid defensive tackle there for the Eagles. So I like this Patriots offseason. I don't know if they're a playoff team necessarily, but they made themselves better, and I think they're going to be feisty at the very least. Like 7-8 wins, I'm thinking in that area. Right now, that's my best prediction for them, I think. But it could be even better than that because Mike Vrabel is their head coach, and that's the type of coach that Mike Vrabel is. He can get the most out of a roster, which should tell you just how terrible that Titans roster was before he was fired. He got railroaded on that one, but maybe it's for the best. Don't know if he went to a better organization, but one that he did go to one that he has history with, and that at least has some degree of winning in their past, unlike the Titans/Oilers. Houston got hosed on that one too, but again, phrase of the episode. There's always a crutch phrase that I lean on in every episode. This one is, that's a different story for a different day. So, moral of the story is, though, I like what the Patriots did this offseason. We'll see what they do in the draft. Probably would behoove them to go aggressively on the offensive line. I don't know if it's a particularly deep draft on the offensive line this year, but I know they should be as aggressive as they possibly can, and hopefully bring in some players that hit so they can protect Drake May. I think that's the biggest thing going into year 2 is protecting Drake May. I always forget at this point. I mean, they've only been hired for a good couple months now. I mean, like, what, 4 months at this point, maybe 3 months at this point, but I keep forgetting that Josh McDaniels is the offensive coordinator for the Patriots again. I totally slipped my mind on that one, and that's a guy that he's been atrocious at 2 stops now. He is never getting an opportunity again at this point, so that's an excellent offensive coordinator hire too. I mean, he might be an asshole, but you can be an asshole as an offensive coordinator. As a head coach, that's not going to work. But with a really, really good head coach when it comes to managing personalities, I feel, in Mike Vrabel, I think that, you can rein in the asshole-ish tendencies a little bit and get that offensive, detail-oriented style of offense that I think is going to be, it might be a work in progress here initially, but if Drake May continues to progress, I think this offense is going to be pretty solid down the stretch. Might be, off to a rocky start initially because Josh McDaniels does have a very, complex offense. But once he gets into the flow of things, I think that complex offense is going to work to their advantage. And ultimately, I just feel like the Patriots made a good hire. I mean, they went back to the well, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they were wrong on any front. I mean, especially with the hiring of Mike Vrabel. I like what the Patriots are doing. Sue me. I like what the Patriots are doing. And the last headline I have actually written down here. Bills signed cornerback Christian Benford to a 4-year, $76 million extension. Do not have the guarantees on that because I was a busy boy. Didn't have time to get that written down in the old phone over the course of the week. But I love this. I mean, I love what the Bills are doing this offseason too. Retaining good players. I think Brandon Beane has really acquitted himself well in the draft, especially last year, hitting on a lot of key picks there. Keon Coleman specifically, maybe not a number 1 type of guy right now, but hey, maybe he progresses into that. He's a beast at the point of attack on jump balls for sure, and a lot better than you would expect after the catch with his frame and relative lack of speed on the outside, at least from like a straight line perspective. He seems to have really hit on the outside and at a position that they really need. Obviously, they re-signed Khalil Shakir this offseason. Josh Allen, they re-upped on a big extension, but again, it's only going to get more expensive. So the sooner you can do that, the better. That's just good business. That's just good business right there. They made some good additions as well. I mean, 1-year deal for not Nick Bosa. That'd be a huge signing if they got Nick Bosa, but Joey Bosa, still good signing. We'll see if he stays healthy. Rarely does, but we shall see. Maybe a new training staff in a new locale will do him some good. I don't know. Dean Spanos is a cheap ass, so maybe he's skimped out on the training staff. No offense to the training staff that is there in LA. It's nothing against you. It's against the guy that hired you, unfortunately, and that's not your fault. That's not your fault. It's a job, and you're doing the best you can at it. You're not trying to hurt players. It just, and I'm just speaking straight out of my ass. So there is that. Maybe you guys are great. I have no idea. I do know the owner is a cheap ass, though. So is Terry Pegula going to be a whole lot better? We'll see on that. But I guess it can be worse than Dean Spanos, I suppose. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see on that. But good Bills offseason so far, just with retaining players in there and keeping that window open. Really, the window is going to at least be cracked for the entire time that you have Josh Allen there. But when Patrick Mahomes is the guy that you got to get through to even get to the Super Bowl, you kind of have to. It's an arms race every single year because if you don't have a substantially better team than the one that Patrick Mahomes has and that Andy Reid coaches and that Steve Spagnuolo coordinates the defensive side of, you don't have a chance. And we've seen that time and time again. There's a reason that they've gotten to, what is it now, 3 straight Super Bowls that they've been to. It's been 3 in the last 6 years that they've won the Super Bowl. Everyone knows that's the team. That's the current dynasty. That's who we're gunning for right now. So I love what the Bills are doing in that mindset. Now it's all eyes on the draft, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do. I think they could still use another receiver. I don't know if they need it back, but in a draft like this, I mean, could you fault them for taking one to spell James Cook? I mean, I know they have a good rotation behind them, but I mean, who's to say you don't bring in a Damian Martinez in like the 5th round or something? Bring in a big bruiser like that. I mean, maybe you go with someone that's a little bit more of a scat back or something like that. I mean, it's such a great draft for the running backs this year that, I mean, I couldn't fault anyone for taking a running back in this year's draft. So I'm interested to see what they do. Brandon Beane has got, I mean, one of the longer leashes in the NFL as far as his decisions. He's acquitted himself quite well. Really rose to the pressure, and he deserves a whole lot of credit for that over the last couple off seasons with that big contract hitting for Josh Allen. That's just good business. Good business, and all the credit in the world to him. That being said, that was the last of my headlines that I wrote down. So we're going off the cuff now. This will be a little bit of a shorter episode if you haven't picked up on that yet. But a lot of stuff coming out of the league meetings. No Aaron Rodgers signing yet. This is just, I am so glad my team is not waiting on Aaron Rodgers to make any sort of decision. They're keeping the door cracked open, which I don't love, but they are not putting anything on hold for him. That's for damn sure, because Kwesi Adofo-Mensah is a smart GM looking to be on the verge of signing a contract extension if he hasn't already, by the way. If it hasn't happened already and I just missed that headline, I apologize if I did miss the headline and it did happen. But if it hasn't happened already, it's going to happen here at some point in the near future. He's done a bit of a rocky start here and there, but he's done exactly what he set it out to do, and many people thought was impossible. Frankly, a competitive rebuild is exactly what he did. Outside of last year, where you went into injury hell, especially with the quarterback situation, and if Kirk Cousins stayed healthy, by the way, they would have been a playoff team, and Kirk Cousins was probably going to be in the MVP conversation. I know it was like 4 or 5 weeks in whenever he tore his Achilles. It's a big kind of projection out beyond that, but he was playing the best football of his career at that point. That's an undeniable fact. You go back and watch those first couple games. The team was not winning. He did fumble a couple of times. There were a lot of really ridiculous, stupid turnovers, but he was balling out. He was playing inspired football, really maximizing his potential in that Kevin O'Connell offense. So even in that year where they went 7-10, they were still a pretty solid football team. And this whole time, all Kwesi Adofo-Mensah has done is build the roster up incrementally over the course of a couple seasons, a couple drafts. You hit on a couple players here and there. You get some solid younger free agents in the building that become cornerstones of the franchise. Shout out to you, Byron Murphy. Love you. I hope you retire a Viking. I'll just say that much. It took you a while to get here, but I don't want you to ever leave. Now, you are a man amongst boys as far as the cornerbacks are concerned. Maybe the best slot corner in the entire league right now. But you bring in players like that, and then when you know the iron is hot and your quarterback of the future is in the building, kind of fortuitous that they lost a couple of games last year just so they could get in position to draft a guy like J.J. McCarthy. Now you know you have a quarterback on a rookie contract. The roster is right on the brink. You have some clear issues to fix. And Kwesi Adofo-Mensah knew the assignment exactly from the moment that it hit the offseason, and you saw the fruits of that when they got into free agency with the spending spree on both lines of scrimmage. I love what the Vikings did this offseason, and Kwesi Adofo-Mensah was the architect behind that. Obviously, Kevin O'Connell has his say, but Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, he's the guy that runs the show, and he's done a hell of a job so far. Next thing, just maybe draft a running back, maybe maybe we go guard in the first round, actually. I wouldn't hate that at all. The thought of Blake Brandel being the starting left guard frightens me. It really does. Even with all the other good additions, obviously, you bring in Ryan Kelly, you bring in his the guard that was next to him in Indianapolis, Will Fries, but that left guard position is still frightening to me. So you fix that, then we'll be good to go. Also, very deep running back draft. Maybe sprinkle in the I don't really know what picks we have. I know we kind of just raided the cupboard for draft picks this year. But maybe use a mid-round pick on a running back there. You can get really good. I mean, Taj Brooks probably going to be available later in the draft, I would say. I'd be perfectly fine with adding Taj Brooks, especially with the way that he would pair with Aaron Jones play style-wise. Very physical back is Taj Brooks. But, I mean, the real guy I want, if I'm being honest with you, and I said this at, after the Combine, the Vikings draft Bashal Tutton, I'll be over the moon, man. I'll be over the moon. I mean, that's a fast back with a hell of a lot of production in college and production in the ACC too, which I know it's not really one of the Power 2 conferences, but it's still a Power 4, and it's still high-level competition that he went up against and produced in a big way the final 2 years of his college career. So I want that guy. I think if you draft a guy like Bashal Tutton, I mean, I get there's not really a power element to that running game, but boy, oh boy, would that be fun. That being said, I just pretty much stated out loud why that probably isn't going to happen. I have a feeling, just looking at the emphasis in this offseason, particularly big money spent on the interior of the offensive line, and kind of some of the reasons why Sam Darnold, outside of, maybe being better in Kevin O'Connell's offense than otherwise offenses, maybe, there were other reasons why Sam Darnold faltered and collapsed in those final 2 games of the year, and part of that was the interior of the offensive line was bad, and they couldn't generate a power run at all, and part of that was the offensive line. Other part of that is that's just really not Aaron Jones's game. It's not really Ty Chandler's game either, but Ty Chandler, he was a 7th round pick for a reason. I don't see him having a huge future in the rotation, especially if they draft the guy this year. He would be tertiary reps at best, I would say, at that point. So didn't really have that kind of function in the offense. If you draft a big guy, like I just kind of use, Taj Brooks, Damian Martinez, one of those guys, that's how you put a capper on the offseason there after you fill in that left guard position. Again, I do not want Blake Brandel as my starting left guard this year. That horrifies me. That horrifies me in ways that are hard to vocalize, but I don't want that to happen. That's the one weakness on the offense, I would say, is that left guard. And I am not exaggerating on that, by the way. You can go right down the list. You can quibble about the quarterback. We'll leave that to the side for now because he's an unknown commodity. I tend to think that any quarterback that is going to be put in Kevin O'Connell's scheme is going to have their talent maximized. So we're going to find out fairly quickly if he's a pretty good quarterback, I'll say. And I think he'll progress throughout the course of the year. I think he's going to be pretty good. I'm obviously a fan. It's impossible for me to be objective on that, but in my personal opinion, in my professional opinion, even on this podcast, I have a feeling that he's going to pan out, and I have a feeling he's going to put up big numbers in this Kevin O'Connell offense, which is a big reason why I'm saying, Aaron Rodgers, stay the hell away. We don't need you. We don't need you. We don't need that salary on the books. We don't need that presence in the locker room. There's no need. No need to bring him in whatsoever. But even with the quarterback to the side, Aaron Jones, solid back. We're probably going to get some depth behind him in the draft. Left tackle Christian Darrisaw tore his ACL last year. You hope he comes back and is good. But if he comes back at even remotely the same level, he's a top 5 left tackle in the league. Brian O'Neill, probably the most underrated right tackle in the league. No one talks about him, but he's a rock-solid player year in, year out. Just a really, really good player. Obviously, Will Fries is in there at right guard. You spent a bunch of money on him, so you're expecting him to come in and play well. Ryan Kelly on the interior there at center. He's not an all-pro level center, maybe not even as good of a player as I would have hoped that we'd get, but he's an upgrade over Garrett Bradbury. He's above average. Garrett Bradbury was average to below average on a given week. Ryan Kelly is at least average to above average on a given week, and that is an upgrade. I will take that. You look at the wide receivers, and you'll see pretty quickly that that's not a weakness. I mean, even Jalen Naylor at the third receiver right now has kind of, not quite to the Adam Thielen extent because Jalen Naylor was drafted, but he's brought himself up from special teams player to rotational snaps on the offense, good in spurts, but, maybe not the most productive player in the world, to being a legitimately, taking the third receiver by the balls last year with KJ Osborne going out of town. And that deserves a whole lot of credit. He's really progressed well. And then, of course, the top two, Justin Jefferson, the best wide receiver in the game, argue with a wall on that. And listen, I'm a Vikings fan. I'm never going to come off of that. Especially now that it's really, Tyreek Hill has kind of had a little bit of age come in there. Devontae Adams isn't what he once was. Justin Jefferson's better than his teammate at LSU. I'm going to tell you that right this second. And that's no shade. They're probably like 1-2 in the league right now. Jefferson and Chase, it's those two are on the same team with Joe Burrow as their quarterback, and it gets more hilarious every time I think about it. But I've belabored that point so many times that I just, maybe the greatest team of all time, but we'll keep it moving from there. Best wide receiver in the game. Jury's still out as far as how good he can be, but Jordan Addison, it wouldn't surprise me if this season he comes out and plays at like a low-level number one sort of level, maybe even like a mid-level number one receiver sort of level. He's that good of a receiver. So you got that. TJ Hawkinson as well, one of the best tight ends in the entire league. So there you go on the offense. Only hole that I can see right now is that left guard. So you figure that out. We're golden. We're absolutely golden there, Pony Boy. I don't really know how I got on that tangent, but that took me a while to get through, didn't it? When I start thinking about the Vikings, man, I get real passionate. So outside of that, what else is going on? League meetings. We do have league meetings going on right now. They're voting on rules. I know. I think they approved or at the very least, it was tabled until May. It wasn't outright denied. But there was a proposal for the kickoff to change where the touchback moves up to the 35, so make it a little bit more punitive for teams kicking touchbacks. That would increase the return rate more. Not change any of the other structure that's been going on there, but just kind of, incentivizing, returns a little bit more. Everyone wants it. I love that. It's a different kickoff format for sure, but if we can keep the kickoff play and we can get more returns out of it, I like it. That's all I'll say about that. But outside of that, we had the physical chains. They're just in a backup capacity now. We are moving strictly to electronic, like laser measuring system for the first downs. So that's, it is sad to a certain extent because there was always that human element. I love the chains. I really do. I think it adds an element of drama to the game and doesn't really affect much. It's still a pretty reliable measuring system, but the laser measuring system is probably better. So I'll grant you that. But it is sad to see. The chains will still be on the sidelines. They're just only there in a backup capacity. So I hate it, but it is what it is at this point. It is what it is. Outside of that, I'm sure there were some rules here and there. The tush push, I think it got tabled for now. I think they're going to be bringing it back up in May. It sounds like, Goodell basically said, changing the rule back to the way it was previously where you can't push or pull a ball runner, essentially getting rid of the tush push would make sense. That's what Roger Goodell said, even though it's even been stated there's no data to support any sort of assertion that injury risk is increased on this play. It's just there's a lot of potential for injury. It's a rugby scrum. No one is getting a whole lot of momentum going into this thing. Everyone is static from a stop. There's no running back building up speed and running into the line. That's probably got a lot more of injury potential. If you see, like, remember giant collisions like the one that Robert Spillane and Derrick Henry had back in the day when Spillane was with Pittsburgh and Henry was with the Titans. I mean, one of the great modern collisions of two really hard hitters that we've seen. That's got more of a potential for injury, I would say, than the tush push, where, yes, it is a physical play. It's a play very predicated on strength, but outside of, I mean, a lot of soft tissue implications, I would say, for the most part. Maybe you get a limb tangled here and there, you turn an ankle or something. I don't see this massive risk for injuries that people just keep purporting. I just think it's something that they're putting out there to ultimately justify what they already want to do, which is ban the play, because by and large, seems like the NFL coaches are a bunch of losers who can't take it when some other team like the Eagles can do something that they can't. I'd like to go on record. I have never had a problem with this play being legal. I hope that this thing gets torpedoed and it stays legal, because it's bullshit that this is kind of playing out the way that it is. It's stupid is what it is, and I hate it. I know defensive coaches like Raheem Morris specifically and Sean McDermott have kind of come out against this thing. And to me, I just look at you and say, hey, you're a bunch of losers, especially you, Sean McDermott, because the Bills tried to do it all year and were just worse than the Eagles at it. And it didn't work for them in the playoffs. They get pissy, and then they start, stumping for banning the tush push, just punitively punishing one team, pretty much, just punishing the Eagles, essentially. Not a football play. Bullshit. Absolutely a football play. It's just a bunch of hollow excuses for the fact that you're sore losers, you're crybabies, and you don't want to find a way to stop it. Instead, you just want to cry, piss and moan, shit your pants a little bit, and then, cry to Daddy Goodell to save the day for you. And looks like he will at the end of the day. So, you know what? Hey, sometimes losers do win. So, clap it up. Hey, Raheem Morris. Hey, Sean McDermott. Hey, good for you guys. Good for you losers, man. The losers won today. The losers, maybe they didn't win, but they got a good step in the right direction today. And that's just kind of how I feel about that one. I hate that. I hate that. I think it's anti-competitive is what it is. It's just, if the Eagles are the only team that's good at it, someone else has to stop it. That's my entire spiel on that. I could go on that one for hours, but I'd start talking in circles pretty quickly. I'm very passionate on that one, and it disappoints me how many coaches at the highest levels purport themselves like losers. They may not be outright losers, but they certainly purport themselves like losers in this point in time. So I will say that. Outside of that, we did have some drama at the league meetings as well. Jerry Jones doing classic Jerry Jones things. He's just trying to... He's a major league schmoozer. Maybe the best schmoozer we got, Jerry Jones, man. There's a reason he's accumulated so much power. Part of that is the aura of the Dallas Cowboys, which he helped create, by the way. Let's not forget that. Jerry Jones is a master marketer, but elite schmoozer. I mean, making friends at all the highest levels, seems to go into just about every conversation with the base goal to be friendly, unless some perceived disrespect comes his way, in which case he's not disinclined to respond to said perceived disrespect, I will say. See the radio host that was, it's a team radio host that he just threatened his job because he asked a question that was even remotely touching at anything that he was sensitive about. But that being said, that he's a major league schmoozer, maybe the best schmoozer we got. He's schmoozing up to Micah Parsons, that is all to say, going around the agent David Mulugeta, who's an absolute assassin at the negotiating table. I'm not going to sit here and praise him for the Deshaun Watson contract like First Take did. It is a hell of a feat to do that, but let's not pretend that anyone other than Jimmy Haslam was going to make that deal. And by the way, kind of a low-key headline from this past week as well, Jimmy Haslam didn't admit to forcing that trade for Deshaun Watson. But I mean, he basically did everything but admit it. He came out there and said the Deshaun Watson thing was on me, essentially. Me as the owner, it was on me, and that's just a signal to everyone that's like, okay, what we all pretty much firmly suspected, like 99% sure about, it became 100 at this point. Andrew Berry did not have a whole lot of say on how that trade went, and probably not how that contract went based on the guarantees with that. But just because Jimmy Haslam was dumb enough to pay someone $230 million guarantee doesn't mean he's the greatest agent in the entire planet. He's still he's an assassin at the negotiating table, though. So Jerry Jones trying to avoid a trained professional at the negotiating table, trying to schmooze up a little bit to Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons just shut that shit down pretty much. Jerry Jones came out there and basically said, I don't know the guy's name when referring to Micah Parsons' agent. It's weird side swipe. Jerry Jones seems to be getting a little bit sloppier in the media as he gets older. I mean, he's 86 at this point, I'm pretty sure, so not completely unexpected. He's not really the full-time GM at this point, but still, it somehow is acting in that capacity, which owner GM, that's still a wild dynamic to me in the year 2025, but that's all going to probably end once Jerry Jones is gone. Though, seems like Stephen Jones is going to have the team passed down to him, so maybe it doesn't end. Maybe it's just a generational thing and they'll just be a novelty from here on out. But I really got off on a tangent there. The moral of this story, though, Micah Parsons saw those comments, because obviously Jerry Jones just loves sticking his foot in his mouth while on camera. One of his favorite pastimes, and he did it again with those comments about David Mulugheta not knowing his name. Micah Parsons clapped back against those comments, basically just said he hired professionals for a reason, and he's going to let the professionals do the negotiating. There will be no back doors, I think was the exact quote as far as the negotiations are concerned, which, hey, respect. Micah Parsons, good on you, good businessman. You don't want to fuck with trained professionals. If there's anything that I have learned over the past several months here, and I feel like I've learned a whole lot over this last several months. Sorry, there's a sneeze that's brewing. Really come up to the fore, but I think I'm going to suppress it. There it goes. It's going back down. I think we're good on that. But if there's anything I've learned here recently, it's that, hey, you don't fuck with trained professionals at the negotiating table. Jerry Jones has been negotiating deals for longer than Micah Parsons has been alive by a factor of several decades. We'll just say that. David Mulugheta is an assassin at the negotiating table. And if you got an assassin on your payroll, why would you, an amateur killer, go in to do the job that you've hired an assassin to do? So I totally get that. And I respect the hell out of Micah Parsons for not taking the cheese, because Jerry Jones is a charismatic man. I think they'll continue to have good, respectful conversations. Jerry Jones will probably try to bring up the contract stuff. Micah Parsons will probably direct him to David Mulugheta's phone number to discuss contract details. And I know what Jerry Jones is going to do. He's just going to drag this thing out for as long as he can possibly drag it out, and then he's going to pay Micah Parsons more than anyone's been paid in NFL history. That's just kind of how this is going to go. I really have no idea why they wait so long to get these deals done, but I think it's just because Jerry Jones loves the drama and loves the circus around all of it, which probably not a good thing for his team in the long run, but I think there are bigger factors as to why they have not been anywhere near the Super Bowl in the past 20 plus years. 30, actually, I think, at this point. All right, well, I mean, that being said, there's nothing that really pops to mind immediately. Nothing that really pops to mind immediately outside of what I've discussed here. I'm sure I missed stuff along the way. Just didn't really, didn't tickle the fancy, so to speak. So outside of that, I think we're pretty much done with this episode. I'm gonna go get this thing edited up. But hey, thank you so much for tuning in. We do this thing once a week during the off season. Just Tuesdays. We're doing this thing. We're gonna get this thing out late tonight. Don't you worry. It'll be in the feed. Just probably gonna have to listen to it in the morning, anyways, on Wednesday. I apologize, but it will be coming out today as I'm recording this on Tuesday. outside of that, follow me on Twitter at CalebVUA. Shoot me a DM if you want to opine, contribute to the show in any way. Pretty flexible on that front. So, hey, shoot me a DM. There we go. We'll leave it at that. Outside of that, I got to stop saying that. But thank you so much for tuning in to Unqualified Analysis. As always, I have got no clue what I'm talking about. I'm a real dipshit sometimes, I'll tell you what. That being said, one thing that I learned this week, if I can ever pull up the correct note here. Yes. Coming into the, Actually, you know what? No. We're gonna reel that back in a little bit because that's kind of an evergreen sort of answer. We're going to go to this one instead. In North Carolina, Minnesota, and Ohio. Shout out to Ohio for this because this is something I did not know. You cannot get a DUI for riding a horse drunk. Just those three states though. Horses are considered a vehicle in other states, but not in North Carolina, Minnesota, and Ohio. So if you are getting boozed up, you may want to invest in a horse if you're living in any of those three states. And hey, shout out to Minnesota too. I mean, hey, I don't know if that's necessarily safe, but I mean, as long as no one gets hurt, that does kind of rock. I mean, the horse is a sentient animal. It can stop itself as long as you're not, galloping at the speed of lightning there, which I would not recommend if you are drunk. I really wouldn't recommend you drive or ride an animal while drunk, but if you're going to do it, probably, take it nice and slow, nice leisurely ride back to your abode there. But yeah, there you go. You learned something new today. I'm going to go edit this thing. Love y'all. I'll talk to you next week. Hugs, kisses, good night. Bye-bye.